Extra.
Thank you so much for being with us this lovely Thursday morning. I'm Robert Cherabonyonyitono. It is Good Morning Uganda Extra, an extension of our morning show, which is Good Morning Uganda. Don't forget, whether it's raining, whether it is what, we are always here every weekday to kickstart your morning. So make it a date with us. 6:30, because we have a fully packed show of very relevant information that you need to know as you start your day. Imagine we begin by letting you know what is happening locally and international. Of course, with some few light moments here, no matter how stressful, how complicated, how worrisome your night could have been, when you start with us, where you have reasons to smile, and indeed you smile. We look at what is trending in our press review. We have our newsreel full of very interesting discussions, but then also Ruben gives you sports updates. And the agenda, we have a guest and a topic of discussion. Then we dive into Good Morning Uganda Extra. Now today, we are going to be looking at the Inuka Africa Conference that is discipling gatekeepers. That is kicking off. Actually, it started yesterday and is ongoing. And joining me this morning to discuss this is Tugume Ronald, who is an advocate with Jabo Campaign Advocates, but also a member of the programming committee. Ronald, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chirabo. It's a pleasure and a privilege and an honor to be in the studios of UBC to talk about Inuka Africa Conference 2023.
Now, going very fast, when you talk about Inuka Africa, first, what is this all about, even before we go to the conference?
Yes. So, Inuka Africa is the African chapter of Christian denominations that are under the international organization called Salt and Light International. So the African chapter is called Inuka Africa. The word Inuka is a Swahili word meaning arise. So if we were to change it to English, it means Arise Africa. So this conference happens every year in different African nations. Now Uganda has been privileged to host it twice in a row. So we had Inuka Africa 2022 happening here in Kampala at hotel, Grand Imperial Hotel last year. And then because we did a splendid job, we were given an opportunity to host it again this year. So we are hosting it for the second time. It's running, it started yesterday. We had a very beautiful first day. And it's at the Kampala Serena International Conference Center. And we are trying to answer the questions that Africa needs to answer with the right perspective. So Salt and Light is a Christian international organization. The Inuka Africa is the African chapter. So that is Inuka Africa. It comes from Salt and Light International.
Now, there's something very interesting. You talked about finding solutions to problems in a perspective.
Yes.
Which perspective is this?
So the perspective in Inuka Africa is addressing the questions that Africa has to answer is from the norms and values of biblical principles, but in an African setting. The questions that Africa has to answer are different from the questions the rest of the world has to answer. As a continent, we have pertinent issues. One of the questions that this conference wants to answer this year is, in case of crisis, in case of international systems failing, what is Africa's answer? How does Africa respond? How does Africa survive? Let's imagine we have a crisis. All the systems that Africa is relying on, which most of them are foreign, are outside our domain. If they are to fail, what happens to Africa? And so the conference comes together to try and answer those questions. What should Africans be doing today to prepare for a time as that? I'll give a simple example. You will find that now international organizations have agendas or programs that are counter-Africa. They are not in tandem with Africa. They are against some African values. Now, as Africa, how do you defend your values? So the question we're trying to answer is, how do we defend Africa in case the systems that we know, in case we are asked to do things or behave in a way that as Africa is not acceptable to us. So this conference brings African Christian leaders in one place to answer or to create ways in which Christians around the continent can behave so that they are prepared for that time.
Yes. Well, very interesting indeed. I love the fact that you are bringing the African perspective, because so much with modernity that the Africanness in us is being washed away, and day by day we are being dictated upon solutions for our problems. But if Africa is looking at solutions for Africa's problems, in case of an eventuality, I think that is a very good move. Now, this conference, who are the people that you're expected? Who are the people that are attending?
So, thank you so much, Chirabo. So this conference is open to, we've divided it into two sessions every day. So the mornings are particularly targeting categories. Yesterday we had the morning session prepared for the CEOs. So we had quite a number of CEOs that were attending a breakfast. And these CEOs, the conference wants to introduce this concept to them. It also wants to tell them, look, as you're doing your business, do you have Africa in mind? Do you have plans that are to make Africa arise? Because for a long time, the business people are running business in their small domains, in their cities, in their countries. They're not thinking of the big picture of Africa. So yes, so every day we have two sessions, but with targeted groups. So the morning ones are concentrated on the particular groups. Then we have the afternoon sessions, which we are calling the main sessions, where every Christian, every believer in Africa is invited. Every person who feels like they are interested in seeing Africa arise, they are welcome. The conference hall can take 1,700 people, so you are all welcome. And but the morning ones are invited by invitation for those particular targeted groups. So today, for example, we are going to have church leaders in the morning. Actually, as we speak now, that session is going on. And those church leaders are also being brought on board to think about Africa, to think about solutions that can defend this continent. Because Africa is very vulnerable. We are the most endowed continent in the world, and yet we are the most vulnerable. Why? Because we as Africans have not come together to create a critical mass, to create a union, a vision that is unitary, that unites all of us. We all chase the same thing, so that as a continent we can stand and take our place in the world. And I think our place is supposed to be number one.
Number one, Africa. Well, this privileged, gifted continent, but yet having majority of the challenges in one way or the other. Now, it is open invitation for the evenings, you've said.
Yes.
Now, let's look at what are the key areas that you're going to be focusing on.
Okay.
Because if I'm watching today, just knowing that it's Unuka Africa, Christian organizations, and of course, looking at Africa chapter may not entice me so much. I need to know more. Why should I go to be part of this?
All right, thank you so much. Now, the reason why all of us have to be interested in this conference or participate in this conference is because it touches the 7 spheres of life where we need to concentrate. And as Christians or as churchgoers, most times we have concentrated on church, looked at church as the alpha and omega of all our societal problems. But the conference is introducing a concept whereby we are saying that the church must be in every sphere of life. We have 7 spheres. We have government, we have the youth, we have education, we have the health, we have the celebrities, we have the they're running out of my head, but the 7 spheres, the mountains of influence. The conference is saying that the church must infiltrate those spheres. How can, to put it in a live example, we are saying that church leaders, for example, that are being spoken to this morning, they are being told, do not keep your congregation in the church. Train them, disciple them, prepare them. For example, if you identify that in your congregation you have people who are political, they are interested in politics, they are interested in governance, train them, disciple them, and then send them out into those positions, support them. If it is elective politics, support them, but support people that you have prepared with the values and the norms that will advance the mission that Africa must pursue. If it is sports, we should have discipled Christians, people who understand that even as a sports person, I am building Africa, I am defending Africa, I'm creating, I'm using my talent, I'm using my sport to advance Africa. So the church leaders are being told that do not think everybody must be in, they call it full-time ministry, everybody must serve in the church. No. Train your congregation, disciple them. First of all, convert them. Let them be baptized, let them become believers. Then disciple them so that they now are grown and understand and are on the same page with you. Then deploy them. Now, the conference is seeking to create a critical mass that the church can deploy in these spheres. And when we have these people that we shall be calling gatekeepers, discipling gatekeepers, because we want people to be in education when they understand the vision and the mission. We want people to be in governance when they understand the mission and the vision. We want young leaders who are going to come after, who have energy, who have strength to run around when they understand the vision. And that is what Inuka Africa is trying to do, that we want to bring everybody at that point to understand that we must deploy gatekeepers in all these places, so that Africa has a critical mass of people who are doing the right thing that will help secure the existence of Africa as a continent.
Well, I love the fact that you're looking at gatekeepers that will be able to be men and women of value and valor when it comes to pushing Africa ahead. Love the fact that now Christians or religious organizations have woken up to the fact that it's not only serving God that can transform this continent.
Yes.
We've had people who pray like no any other continent. But even the Bible is very clear. Thou shalt not tempt the Lord your God. Faith without action is dead. So when such comes up, it is very interesting. Now, who are that? Do you have keynote speakers or those outstanding people that we should yearn actually to come and listen to their output, these words of wisdom, direction? Let's also take a look at that.
Yes, we've collected a pool of speakers from around the continent, but also we have looked inwards. We are the hosts, so we are giving the world to hear from what Uganda has to say about the African continent. And we have, just to go back a bit, you said that it's not only serving God that is the answer. And that's not the position. The position is that serving God is the answer. But where? The problem is that people have been thinking that serving God is only in the church. Yes, but Inuka Africa is saying that serving God is not only in the church. Even the president can serve God as they are being the president. We are saying that a business CEO can serve God as he's being a CEO. And that's what we are saying as Inuka Africa, that if we want to see this change, serving God must be in all those places. That you are a teacher, you are a headmaster, you serve God as a headmaster. And we believe that now these people, if they are trained and discipled, this serving God is what makes the difference in those spheres. The challenge is we are having people who think that when I'm an usher in the church, I am serving God. When I go back to my position in the office, it's not serving God. So they are doing their own things, and then that's when you have these problems coming in of people being no integrity, no respect. So we are saying that Christians must be deployed everywhere. And that is what Inuka Africa is saying, that all over the continent can Christians be discipled, be trained to be servants of God in those spheres where they are. So going back to the speakers, we have the key speaker who's going to be speaking in most of our sessions is called Professor Vincent. The name is Nigerian. They have so many B's. Abignobu. So we were taught how to pronounce it yesterday, but it skipped in my mind. But he's sharing nuggets of truth. Yesterday, by the way, yesterday's conference is on, was recorded, it's online, it's on YouTube, so you can even access it. But the things that are being shared in this conference are from life experiences. They're from tested teachers. Professor Vincent has been, since 2007, running an institution called it's called INT. Let me get it briefly here. And he moved around, is moving around the continent specifically to get this idea that African church, the African church must get out of the four walls of the church and go and be church wherever you are. If you're a policeman, be church there. Do church there. Be faithful, be honest, be set the vision, lead. Because you see, people think that to be a leader you must be at the top of the pyramid. No, we lead from as
low as possible.
As low as possible. Your firstborn is a leader. Leads the rest of the siblings. You, the father, you're a leader in your home. If you're assigned, you are an askari, you have been assigned that gate, you are the leader at that gate. So people need to understand that leadership is not only by position, it's by responsibility. And the unfortunate thing is that the church has been exercising its serving God element within the four walls of the church. So we have speakers like Dr. James Magara, who opened the session yesterday. We have speakers like Ms. Allen Kajina. We have speakers like yesterday we had a Nigerian speaker, lady, she's a coach trainer called Isi Binege, and so many others. We have a panel of church leaders who will also be speaking to with each category. Yesterday we had video casts from John Maxwell to the CEOs. We had Reverend Julian Chulia to the CEOs. People in those spheres, in their specific spheres, who have excelled and who have a track record and are passing on their nuggets of wisdom to these to the conference attendees.
Now, you said the background of this is a Christian organization, yes. Light and Salt,
yes,
where now Inuka Africa is the African chapter.
Yes.
Now, all this said, where is the Christian element as a priority in this conference?
Okay. The Christian element in the conference is the people who will be speaking. Even the attendees. It's an open invitation, but we want to target Christians. Because the values and norms, the principles upon which we want these gates to be kept are Christian founded. So most of the speakers are going to be teaching from the Christian principles, from the Bible. And they will be passing on the wisdom that has been tested over generations. Most of these speakers are exemplary in their fields, without a doubt. And they have pursued and followed these Christian principles. So the Christian version of the conference is that everything that will be spoken at that pulpit will be based on the principles and the teachings of the Bible. Yes.
Well, now I get a feeling of that. Also at a time when the Christian faith, just like other faith, has been tested with so much modernity, and somehow, somewhere, there have been some dilution, and of course, regarding the fact that we may not remain static at all the times. We must have these changes. Now, what do you intend to achieve? Because you say this is not the first time. Are there, what are you coming up with a unique? What do you, after all this workshop, this conference has ended, what are your expectations?
Thank you so much. Now, when we gather in such a conference with an outlay of its international in its nature, because we have people from over 15 countries, when we share, at the end of the conference, there is a deployment. Our target is that everybody who has sat under the voice of these people picks that vision becomes discipled, because there's also discipling going on as we do this conference. Now, those representatives of those nations go back to their nations. They are deployed. There is a commissioning at the end of the conference, where we have these summits and conferences that are always held, and they come out with protocols. You hear the Arusha Protocol, the Maputo Protocol, the Kampala Protocol. Now, for us, at the end of every conference, we believe and have the faith that every delegate that has attended that conference is then commissioned. And the things that we do as Inuka Africa, they are things that are beyond the physical realm. They are beyond the physical realm. So people are encouraged to go beyond the physical realm and go into what we call the spiritual realm, which is strange, which is very common to so many people, but it is used in very different ways. Most Africans are spiritual people, but the way they access and deploy or use their spiritual person is what varies. Now, as Christians, we believe that whatever we see in the physical must be dealt with or contacted or yearned for and sought for in the spiritual. So after this conference, we believe in the spirit that people are commissioned. They are prayed for and commissioned to go and be the gatekeepers in various places. By the way, among the attendees in the conference, we have people from all walks of life. We have people in government, in businesses, students. We have people who are in education, people who are in the health sector, people who are in the services. So we believe that as the conference goes on, people pick these admonitions, pick this discipling, and when they go back, they now implement. They now begin to execute. And it's always those people that now start spreading and create that critical mass that we need as a continent. And very serious things happen. For example, businesses start running business in a different way. Governments, you will have had, I don't know if you've had, you will have had the president ask that question. Where is Africa's critical mass? I don't know if you've heard him ask that question. He said, Africa, if we were to be called upon today to defend ourselves, where do we start? It's a question which right now as a continent, I don't think we have an answer. Yes, let's imagine right now the European Union decided to say that we are going to attack Africa. As Africa, where do we run to come together? To also say that as Africa, we are saying, you come, we shall defend ourselves. Where?
You have a few regional blocks and have come up with a few security.
So you can hear regional. The other people are talking as one. You are in regional. So we need a place of convergence, that whenever Africa is called, we have a place we look to and say, so what are our...
Not East Africa.
Not East Africa, not ECOWAS, not Northern Arab states. No.
And we stay together with
Yes, because we have an African Union. But the African Union looks to be, seems to have no agenda for Africa. It seems to be just a fire brigade that comes only when there is. But we need a system that is working every day to make sure that Africa is arising, that Africa is standing, that tomorrow when Africa sits on that table, they have weight. You know, these days in the world, we have a country that can say no and nothing will happen. But I can assure you, if Africa says no and the rest of the world wants to continue, they will continue. So the question we are trying to say that we are saying the solution is going to come from gate breakers, from us deploying many people all over the continent to chase the same thing, so that when you have businesses in Uganda connected with businesses in Egypt, in Nigeria, forming one consortium, tomorrow when people are talking of embargoes and sanctions, we have businesses that can give us the security. We need to answer that question of the critical mass of Africa's existence.
Well, very interesting, visionary thinking about the future of Africa, a very gifted continent, yet very vulnerable to all forms of challenges that attack us. If you remember when we had COVID-19, how we were craving for vaccines.
Begging on our knees.
Vaccines. Even when we had the money, we would not purchase.
Nothing.
Because they were still thinking about themselves. And I remember in one of the addresses, His Excellency was very bitter and said, but why? I mean, when we had sanitizer here, we were able to, at least let's give this percentage. So how does Africa get to that? And I'm happy that now we are giving it a Christian touch. Let's return after this break.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
In this family, we on anything. We can't even agree what to watch. We can't even agree on what, at least the agree on. That's up to you. That it's big and long. Anti-economy keeps smooth. Alina Echovu. That it smells happy. Movit soap comes in 4 fantastic flavors. Movit family soap is truly soap for the whole family.
Movit. All day confidence.
Junko.
Yo.
Wachiko. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda wange. Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break. Thank you so much for being with us here on UBC TV. It is Good Morning Uganda Extra, and we are discussing the Inuka Africa conference that kicked off yesterday, and it will be running up to tomorrow. However, Saturday there will be a men's and of course a women conference that will be going on, but the actual conference, I want to say, will be ending tomorrow. Why should you miss a chance to be part of this fellowship, this conference that is addressing solutions to Africa's challenges in the African perspective? Well, in case you've just joined, I'm with Tugume Ronald, who is an advocate with Jabo and Company Advocates, but also a member of the organizing committee for this conference that is looking at discipling gatekeepers. Christians with a vision of how best we can move Africa forward. Now, briefly, let's move through the program, and then a person can know where they fit most.
Yes.
And in case of time, how best they can be able to achieve the best out of the conference regarding the program.
Okay. Thank you very much, my brother. Now, the program, like we had said yesterday, is done, but today, the church leaders, you still have time. This program is running from 9 to 12:30. The church leaders conference, they began at 9, and really this is for every church leader. You could be a deacon, you could be an elder in the church, you could be the pastor, you could be the bishop, you could be heading the women's, mothers union, fathers union, every church leader. This is the program that has been put together for them so that they can be discipled or given the vision and the idea of Africa and serving God in your place of deployment, but particularly now to the church leaders. And what we want to pass on to the church leaders this morning is to open that perspective that your members, the people you are leading, are not only supposed to serve God in the church. Allow them, empower them to serve God in their businesses, in their offices, in their schools. And then when those people are serving there, your impact as a church leader is spreading. So church leaders today, 9 to 9, and then there'll be lunch for them so that they can transition into the afternoon program. We shall be having the afternoon program starting at 4, and we shall be having Pastor Senyonga speaking to us today, a pastor of Christian Life Church, and he will be sharing on the topic of, just getting my notes here, the gospel and national transformation. We are saying to Christians that the gospel is no longer just for your escape to heaven, because that's a message that has been propagated for a long time. Rokoka ugende muguru. Get saved and you go to heaven.
Blessed are the poor, for the kingdom of God is theirs.
That gospel is not true. The gospel was for us to have dominion. Be saved so that you have the power to dominate. So today's message that will be shared in the afternoon session will be saying that Christians are supposed to not only be saved to go to heaven, but be saved to control everything. To have dominion. Because you see, the solutions of this world are no longer going to be coming from parliaments. They are no longer going to be coming from cabinet meetings. They are going to be coming from people with the right principles, with the right character, doing their part.
Being in this position.
Being in these positions. But if we think that there's going to be a law that is going to be enacted to control people's behavior, we are lying to ourselves. It is only the people themselves putting laws in themselves and acting them out that will change. So the solutions we are saying as Inuka Africa are no longer going to come from parliaments, from cabinet meetings, from boardrooms. They are going to come from Christians who have been discipled and have understood that Africa, I'm specifically concentrating on Africa, but this applies to the whole globe. Once Christians who have been trained, discipled, understand and are deployed in these places, solutions will come automatically because they are tapping from the power that is above, and that power has no bounds. It has no bounds. But the challenge we have today is that the people who are supposed to have that power and exercise it are not in those places. And some of these are being kept out by their church leaders. Church leaders, when they see somebody knows good organizational skills, very has high integrity, says, come and serve full time and pulls them out from their place of deployment.
Yes, and someone will tell you, I left my job for ministry.
Yeah, that is wrong.
And I'm a full-time
Yes, and that gospel is wrong.
God.
And that gospel is wrong. Ministry can be done in the office. Ministry can be done at your detached as a soldier, as a policeman. Ministry can be done as a nurse. As a nurse, you can do full-time ministry while being a nurse. Yes, as an accountant, as a teacher, as a headmaster, as an advocate, as a judge, you can do ministry. And those people, the kind of people like that, are the ones going to bring the solutions we need. So that is what Pastor Senyonga will be talking about today, the gospel and national transformation. That we must use the gospel to transform the nation, not to take people to heaven. When you get the gospel and accept it, it is automatic, you are going to heaven. But are you going to just sit there and say, I'm waiting to go to heaven? Life continues. So we are saying today, that is the topic. So please come and listen. How do you use the gospel to transform yourself, not only for heaven, but also to have dominion over the earth, and as a result, transform them. Then we have, in the evening session also, we shall have Justice Catherine Bamgemerere. She'll be talking to us as well. And she'll be talking about being salt and light in the marketplace. That is today's program. Those are our speakers for today. Being the salt and the light in the marketplace. Now, we are saying that in your place of deployment, is your light shining? There are some Christians, on Sunday they are raising the highest hands, singing the loudest. But when they go back to their places of deployment, the marketplace, what we are calling the marketplace, nobody can even tell that they are Christians. So today, the speakers of today are going to be telling us how to be the salt and light in the marketplace where you are deployed. If you're a judge, because the speaker to us is a judge, she's a justice of the Court of Appeal. She's going to be speaking to us, and she's in the marketplace. So she's going to tell us how, as a judge, as a justice, she's shining the light. She's being the salt. And then also request and deploy all of us, having told us our experience and shared from experience and from the word of God. Then we also go back and be the salt and the light for Africa and for Uganda to transform. Then on Friday, we have the youth engagement. Like I told you, every morning, we began with the CEOs, the business people. Today we are the church leaders. Tomorrow we are going to be with the young men and women of this nation. So the youth engagement will be happening at Kololo. It will be starting at 8 a.m. up to 2 p.m. the first session. Then we shall be having, they'll be having an 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. first session, then 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And young people are invited for the afternoon session to come and be impacted. Because you see, the young people must also be envisioned. They must be part of this envision. If it remains, I'll give you quickly an illustration. In Europe, what used to be churches, what used to be cathedrals now are supermarkets. They are casinos. They are hotels. They are stores. They are being used for games. They are being used as cinemas. What used to be cathedrals. And the only reason this situation arrived on the Europeans is because the generation that knew God did not pass on God to the next generation. So when these young men and women grew up, they knew nothing about church. And so the churches, when the old people all died away, the churches remained empty. And so councils, city councils and all these people were asking, but why are we having this building not serving the purpose? So people came and bought them. Casinos bought the churches, shopping malls, some are even bars, some are hotels. And now we are saying as Africa, we are not going to make that mistake. So in everything we are doing as Inuka Africa, the young people are being tagged along. They are being brought along. So that tomorrow when we step away, there are people to take over. Yes. So there's a youth engagement Friday morning at Kololo Airstrip. Then in the afternoon, in the evening session, the ones that start at 4, we shall have 2 speakers. We shall have Miss Allen Kajina, the Executive Director of UNRWA. Still, you see, we are bringing people to share from outside. Less of church people this time. You realize we're trying to show you that church is outside, that we need more people. So we're bringing more people who are doing church in their places. And the reputation of the people I'm mentioning, you know it. It is clear. Everybody knows that there are people who have stayed the course and they are leading by example. So she'll be speaking to us on leading change and confronting the status quo. So we will understand that as Christians, when you go in a place, for example, if a Christian came to UBC here, they will find things that are happening. You will find people who sign vouchers when they have actually, you know what I'm talking about.
Anything.
Anything. In any institution you find.
The Uganda we are in.
Yes.
Let's just use that.
So if you come as a Christian in that scenario, how do you change that status quo? Is what Miss Allen Kajuna will be telling us as Christians. If you reach an institution and what is going on is not aligned with the vision, is not aligned with integrity, is not aligned with the faithfulness, how do you create that change? How do you counter the status quo? Because sometimes these forces are big. You are just one person. You enter and you find the whole institution has accepted that's how they are doing their things. How do you counter that status quo? This is what Miss Allen Kajina will be teaching us.
Then Saturday, in the interest of time.
Yes.
Saturday.
Yes, so that is it. Then we have Miss Dorothy Kisaka will be our second speaker, and she'll be talking about the marketplace testimony. She'll be testifying of how she has managed in this marketplace to represent and serve God as she becomes a person of influence. Then finally, we shall have Professor Vincent Anigbogu, the director of Institute of National Transformation. He has been here to Uganda. He spoke to us yesterday. He will be closing the day today. And then he will be sharing about being salt and light on how to influence our spheres where we are deployed, how to become people of influence. And finally, we'll crown it up on Saturday with a men's conference, which will be happening at Deliverance Church, Kololo, off Lugogo Bypass. And then the women's conference will be at President's Office Conference Room. That's where the women will be meeting and the men the other side.
Well,
so we invite everybody to be a part of
a
this.
very well-packed program that you can't afford to miss. I just want to thank you so much for your time. And of course, our viewers, make it a date. Go, Christians, we need to take our position. And how do we take our position? We need to be empowered, to be directed, to be discipled, to be the gatekeeper that must see things move in a godly, but also very important, the African perspective in this. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow, God willing, for God and my country. Good morning.
Thank you so much.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala.